Here's my 12-month review of my Model Y. We received our Model Y at the beginning of September 2022, so it's actually about 13 months or slightly over. Now, in that time, we've travelled about 18,500 kilometres, which is a little over 11,500 miles. Now, we moved into the Y from a Model 3, which we'd had for 3 years. So, we were familiar with the Tesla vehicles. So here I'm going to cover things that I like, things that I don't like, and also the costs of having had the vehicle since my last review, which was about 10,000 kilometre review. So this is almost the 20,000 kilometre review, if you like. So let me start off with some things that I do like. Getting in and out of the car, it's a medium SUV, is really easy for me, especially with my badly arthritic spine. And it was certainly becoming quite a big problem with the Model 3, which is why I changed up to the Model Y as soon as it became available. And the easy entry settings really do make it easy entry. And the memory seat positions being linked to the key or phone is another nice touch. Previously in other cars, yes, they've had memory seat functions, but they're stuck there and you've got to reach down and press 1 or 2 or 3 on the odd occasion. But in Teslas, it's automatic. I open the car with my phone, the seat moves to my easy entry position. I put my foot on the brake and it moves up to my driving position. I don't have to be pressing any more buttons. Next item is the supercharger network. Now, whilst here in Australia, we've only got a few sites currently installed, but a couple more are on the way. They're just going to work. Okay, the same can't be said of some of the other DC fast chargers, as they've had quite a high failure rate. Now, although I don't use the superchargers much, except when I'm on road trips, you do have the reassurance that they will work when you get there. Whilst on the subject of charging, I can always wake up in the morning with a car full of charge if needed. And that applies obviously to any electric vehicle, but it doesn't apply to any internal combustion engine vehicle. Now, I've got the Model Y rear wheel drive, so it's got an LFP battery, which can be charged to 100% every week. It's fine. And that gives me just over 400 kilometres of range, which is about 250 miles. Depends upon how I drive it, obviously. But the safety of the LFP battery is better than the NMCs, NMAs, and what have you that occur in other battery types. Although with Tesla, battery fires are so rare. But on the LFP battery, I can charge it to 100% and I've got my 100% of range. Whereas with the long range or the performance models, they should only be charged to 80% regularly. And then their range is only slightly more at that level than my car at 100%. But they are still good for longer trips, obviously. Now, another thing that I like is the automation. It's basically set and forget. I've set the car to drive how I want it to drive, and it adheres to that every time I get in the car. Unlike some other EVs where you've got to keep resetting the eco mode or whatever it is. The settings can be programmed for each driver. So my wife can have her settings the way she likes, and I have my settings the way I like, although I don't let my wife drive the car very much. Comfort. Now, this is one of the ones that's probably going to be a bit controversial. There's a lot of people reported Teslas have got a rough ride. Now, that was certainly true in the earlier models. But my Model Y's seats are great. They absorb a lot of the bumps so I can ride around all day without getting too sore. Now, the suspension may be a touch stiffer than a lot of people like, but it seems fine to me. It also helps having autopilot, which takes a lot of the stress from driving. So I always end up more relaxed at my destination. And I've got enhanced autopilot. Storage. Now the frunk or fruit, whoever you want to call it, I use the fruit to store all my charging cables because I don't have to access them very often. Now in the back, the underboot is a great size and it's a storage that you can put a lot of useful things in. The boot space is brilliant, and if you put the seats down, you've got over 6 foot of length once the door's closed to the back of the driver's seat, and I have mine set a little further back, but you can carry loads up to 2 meters long easily, and I can sleep in the back very comfortably. I haven't, but I have laid down in it and thought this is fine. The other thing that I like about Teslas in general is the app. It's great. I can control many functions of the car from it, and I can even see where it is and how fast it's traveling if someone else is driving. Now, when I got my Model Y, I rented out my Model 3 and I could track what was happening. And I could see one time that the driver was getting into serious trouble with his state of charge. And I could see he was driving around in a car park looking for a charger. So I could get him on the phone and help him out. Now, I also want to give a special mention here to the service team here in Perth in Western Australia. Now, I know some people around the world have complained bitterly about Tesla's service, but here in Perth, they are great. We've got 2 mobile service cars, a Model S and a Model Y, and they can come to you if it's a possible repair that they can do at your place. And if I've had to go up to the service centre, I've had no problems with them whatsoever. So I'd like to give them a big thumbs up. The car is also one of the most efficient electric vehicles around, certainly in a medium SUV size. I am currently, and this is with me driving, averaging 147 watt hours per kilometre or 14.7 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres since new, and it's over 18,500 Ks in that. That includes a little bit of towing. Now, that figure is actually on the way down. I'm looking at it and it's heading down, and I reckon within another 1,000 or 2,000 Ks, that'll drop down to 146. So it's very efficient. Don't know of any other medium SUVs around that will be that efficient with me driving the way I drive. And even when I drive up to Perth or I go on a slightly longer trip, like I go to the shopping centre, it's only 3 Ks there and 3 Ks back. It tends to chew up a bit more of the juice. But if I go a bit further and I drive for 15, 20 minutes, or I go up to Perth, it drops down to about 130 to 135 watt hours per kilometre. It's very efficient. And I do know other Model Y people that will get it below that, but they don't drive as heavily right-footed as I probably do. I love the Sentry mode. It's great. Yeah, look, I know it uses some of the battery, and if you leave it parked somewhere, it's going to be using 5 to 6 kilowatts per 24 hours. But honestly, it's an absolute saviour. With premium connectivity, which here costs just under $10 Australian per month, it means that you can view the car's surroundings. Now, when I was recently in Europe, I could check on my car in the garage. I turned on Sentry mode remotely. Then I accessed the cameras to make sure everything was all right. And then I could open the garage door from the app to let my son in and check that he was there and got in safely. I mean, brilliant. Now, if you've got passengers in the back, which I have had from time to time, having a screen there would be really nice. Now, I know this has happened for the Model 3 Highland version, so hopefully this might come to the Model Y soon as well. I know you can get an aftermarket one, but just put it in Tesla. A lot of other cars I know have got drain plugs in the underboot, possibly in the fruit. I don't know about that. But wouldn't it be nice if Tesla incorporated this So then you could use it as an ice bucket and drain it easily. Or if you get a spill in there, undo it and let the fluid out. It's only a minor thing, but I would like to see that. Full self-driving. Now, yeah, look, it's still in beta in the USA. I would like to see it arrive here in Australia. It is under testing here, but not yet for general release. And I know Elon has just mentioned this at their recent financial call. And he did say it's actually quite hard to get it authorized in different jurisdictions. Now, I've paid for enhanced autopilot, which is half the price. I quite like that. It's really good. Really love to pay the other half and have full self-driving, which I will do as soon as it's announced here. As I said, Elon's been promoting this for many years. And when I first got into Teslas 4 years ago, it was only 2 weeks away. And it's still 2 weeks away. Maybe 2024. Who knows? I would like to see some more superchargers in Australia, especially here in Western Australia, Elon. Thank you. Would be nice. The eastern states aren't doing too bad. You can drive virtually from Adelaide all the way around up to northern Queensland and through a bit of the middle there. Superchargers galore. Over here in Western Australia, we're lacking a little bit. So there's a couple more coming, but really we need quite a few more. Elon, pull your finger out. Thank you. The in-car navigation knows where all these superchargers are and it will navigate you through them on your journey, but it won't yet redirect you through to nearby DC fast chargers. On the thing, the navigation, I can call up destination chargers and so on that I've stopped at in the past. But this is somewhere that I think Tesla needs to make an improvement in. The front, as I've already mentioned, it's really useful. You've got to use the app or the screen to open it, lift it up manually and put it down manually. You have to be careful when you close it. You just push, you don't slam it. Now, look, it's not super important, but I think it would add some nice functionality and make the front more usable. When I had the Model 3, I didn't really use the front very much because of this. Now, I've had Tesla fit a tow bar on the Model Y, and it's limited to 1,600 kilograms or 1.6 metric tons. Now, this is reasonable if I wanted to tow a small caravan, but I really wouldn't mind towing something that was, say, 2.2 to 2.5 tons and not lose too much efficiency. As it stands, towing something that's around the 1.5 tons, you use twice as much power. So that 400 kilometer range drops down to 200 kilometers. It would be nice if it wasn't quite as bad as that. Diesel SUVs towing a caravan do use a lot more diesel. It's not twice as much. Finally, costs. Now, I'm sure you're aware by now that EVs actually very cheap to own, especially Teslas. Insurance and taxes, you pay that for all vehicles. So I'm not going to add those in because they're pretty much the same, despite what some people report. I mean, my Tesla insurance was about the same as, well, it's actually a lot cheaper than a BMW, and it's about the same as a Mazda that we owned. So not going to count that because you've got that expense in all cars. Maintenance, cost me $60 in the last 6 months because I had the tyres rotated and balanced. I did have a cracked windscreen, which cost me $100 excess. That could have happened in any car. I did fill up the windscreen washer bottle. That cost nothing. Yeah. So the main expense of a vehicle is fuel. And this is where EVs are in a league of their own. Did a summary on the first 10,000 kilometers or about 6,000 miles on fuel in another video. And if I can find it, I'll leave a link up here. So I'm just going to do the costing for the last 8,500 kilometers, or about 5,000 miles. So the total energy that I've used for this distance is just under 1,250 kilowatt hours. Now, most of this has come free from that big fusion reactor in the sky called a sun, but I have paid for some charging. So I went through my receipts, and on the ChargeFox network, $23.99. Tesla superchargers, $13.80, which comes to just a smidge under $38. That was the cost of fueling my Model Y. Now, the rest of the charging I've done either free, where at supermarkets, which I go to, my local one, or I've charged it off my solar panels at home. Now, doing that, I've not put it into the grid, and I get a massive 7 cents per kilowatt that I feed into the grid. So that's probably cost me close to $80 in lost revenue. So the total cost for running the car in the last 8,500 kilometers is under $120 Australian. And for that, I did the 8,500 kilometers. Now, if I was to use that $120 to go and buy fuel, I'd have been lucky to get 60 litres. At the moment, it's varying here between about $1.75 to $2.30 plus. So average of $2 per litre. Okay, yep, that's about 60 litres. So with that 60 litres of fuel, I'd have been lucky to travel 1,200 kilometres. Now, that would be in a car capable of 5 litres per 100k. Medium SUV would never get that. It would be closer to 8 litres per 100 kilometres, which would equate to about 750 kilometres. So all up, that works out at around 10% of the cost of the equivalent internal combustion engine vehicle. And even if I'd been paying the most expensive electricity, which is about 60 cents per kilowatt hour, that would have cost me $750 to travel those 8,500 kilometers. Fuel wise, that equates to about 350 litres, and at 5 litres per 100k for a very efficient car, that means 7,000 kilometers. So the Model Y still works out cheaper than a very efficient petrol-fueled car. So, would I go back to driving a nice vehicle? Not bloody likely. I absolutely love filling up the car virtually free from the sun. The car's quiet, efficient, and very cheap to run. If you're currently thinking about the move to an electric vehicle, I would urge you to stop thinking and start acting. By the way, my Tesla referral is in the description below. It would be nice if you use that. So, do you own an EV? Comment in below what you're finding with your particular EV. Do you like it? Would you ever go back to an internal combustion engine vehicle? I know some surveys have shown that 80% of people would. Those were funded by fossil fuel companies, by the way. So, give me some ideas below what you're thinking. Now, also in the description below, there are a few links besides my Tesla link to Ko-fi, where you can help support the channel by buying me a cup of coffee or contribute a small amount on a monthly basis. And also, if you click that like and subscribe button below, costs you nothing, but it still helps promote the channel. So thank you very much. And I'll see you all very soon.